quiet regulatory pressure. You see, Australia, Germany, Japan, and France have been applying subtle pressure or subtle heat, if you will, on payment processors to clean up their act. There hasn't been any like direct orders or laws, just a raised eyebrow from a ministry, and you get the picture. Visa doesn't need to be told. They just feel it. They know it instinctually that, yeah, we got some work to do. And then they act. Do you guys remember DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion? That horrible beast, that horrible monster that we all like to just forget about, but we actually managed to defeat? Yeah. Well, those guys have gotten a facelift. They've rebranded. They got some renovations. But of course, the checklists didn't go away. They're still with us. They're still flagging risky content behind closed doors. And adult video games, guess what? They're on the top of the list. Now, I want us to run this through our 360-degree lens of mostly everything that we've learned and talked about so far. What is it that Postman tells us? What is his main thing? The medium is the message, right? You see, infrastructure is now the new morality. Not law, not debate, not policy, just payment rails. So when Visa embeds brand safety into their code, they don't argue. They simply automate censorship. So you don't get a debate. I mean, you'd be lucky to even get a hello, good day, how are you doing? You simply get a denial and you follow through. So that's Postman's view. What about James Burnham's view? James Burnham would say this isn't a conspiracy. It's process. Middle managers, ESG compliance officers, shareholder risk auditors. Those are the people that basically run the show. Nobody orders the purge. The system just self-purges itself. So what does that mean? What does it mean that the system self-purges? It means that there is no single person in a boardroom that sat up and said, let's delete all adult video games on Steam. There was no explicit directive, if you will. No smoking gun email. None of that stuff. No dramatic villain in a cape kind of moment. Which kind of reminds me, it's getting a bit toasty in here. Instead, it was just systems responding to pressure signals. Collective shout applies reputational pressure. Regulators raise quiet concerns. Your shareholders start to whisper about brand risk. And Visa's compliance team just updates their policies. And then, of course, finally, Valve sees the writing on the wall and delists the games. You see, at every single step, every single point, it looks like nobody is responsible, but everyone is actually participating. So this is what I mean when I talk about automated censorship by bureaucracy. This is what James Burnham called the managerial revolution, where real power isn't held by rulers or laws, but by invisible processes, policies, and risk departments that move in unison without needing explicit commands. How freaking fantastic is that? It's so devious, but it's so deviously genius. It's like the nervous system. The body just twitches before the brain even sends down the signal. So why does this matter? This matters because it challenges our assumptions on there being a bad guy, there being one person responsible, the villain narrative, if you will. In the environment that we're in, there is no villain. There is no bad guy to punch, bad guy to sue. Only a system that purges on its own because that's what it was designed to do when the right pressure is applied at the right places at the right time. Which now means that the fight for free expression isn't about protesting just one company. It's about understanding and exposing how power behaves where nobody wants to be seen holding it. And then the Machiavellian lens. One of my favorite Machiavelli rules of power is appear good while doing what is necessary. Take Visa, for instance. Visa didn't attack freedom. They merely protected their users. They didn't ban developers. No, not at all. They upheld community standards. That's textbook. That's righteous. Move ruthlessly, but appear good while doing so. Damn, bruh, that's so fantastic, man. Bruh. Oh man, that's I don't know, man. I wanna say that's a bar. That's freaking fantastic. It's genius. It's beautiful. So now let's go over the chain of power flowchart, if you will. Collective shout is the fire alarm. The moral sirens. They are the ones that pull the alarm in the building and scream, "There's a fire! There's a fire! Child exploitation! Sex trafficking! Misogyny!" They don't put out the fires, they basically light them, they start them, right? So once again, their power is basically moral panic and reputational risk. They're not policymakers, they're the mood makers. They set the tone, the ambience, the vibes. The louder they scream, the more everybody else has to scramble. And then Visa and Mastercard, they are the fire department. They're the ones that hear the alarm and simply rush in, right? Where's the fire? Oh, the fire! It's on the second! Doesn't matter! Just start spraying! They don't fact check, they policy check. They slam the brakes on payment, cut water to devs, and flood Valve with concerns. Again, their power, financial control, cloaked in brand protection. They don't burn the building, they basically decide who gets to use the exits. And then of course we have BlackRock, State Street, and all these other friends. So who are these guys? These guys are basically the fire inspectors. Very nice, very suave. They're not even in the building. They show up in black cars months later, like the FBI. No. Like the Men in Black. We're here to review your fire response. Was it fast enough? Clean enough? Safe enough for our shareholders? You see, they don't scream. They don't censor. Because they don't need to. They control the oxygen, your stock price, your CEO's future, your access to capital. So what's their power? Their power is silent governance. They work well in the shadows. They're basically like Batman. And then of course you got Valve, or Steam, or whatever you want to call it. So who are they? Valve is like the building manager that is caught in the crossfire. They are we didn't start the fire, we didn't call the fire department, and most importantly, we do not want to lose our lease. So what do? They remove the matchsticks, lock the closets, evict the tenants. Not because they believe there's actually a fire, but because the people with the money and the hoses do. So what's Valve's power again? Exactly. Platform power. But it only matters if it has fuel. And right now that fuel line runs through Visa. And then lastly, you have the games and the devs. So who are these guys? These guys are the civilians. They're the guys that are stuck outside going, what happened? Why is the door locked? Why the hell are my games? No answers, no trial, no statement. Because nobody actually ordered the purge. The system simply self-purged. So you see, analysts, this isn't just about hentai simulators or what have you. We're talking about the principle here. When infrastructure starts to decide what counts as acceptable speech, you don't get outrage. You don't get protest. You get silence. Your favorite dev gets banned, you never hear about them again. Your favorite creator stops posting, they don't even explain why. They vanish and the system wins. Because no one knows who to fight. So then what do? We do the only thing that we can. We expose the process, trace the wires, name the power. Not to fight for corn, but to fight for the right to be able to tell stories without a shadow committee deleting the ones it doesn't like. Because if this is the new type of censorship that we're dealing with, a denial without a trial, a ban without a ban hammer, then let's just call it what it is. Gaming isn't free anymore, it's conditional. And conditions are set by the invisible. But now, the difference is you see them.